Good morning, my pottery students. Today I'm going to be doing a throwing demo for you, and I'm going to be throwing bowls. So watch closely and see if you can see the differences between a cylinder and a bowl. I've got my clay centered and wedged, so I'm ready to go. And I'm going to go ahead and get my hands wet and get my clay wet and make sure I'm just pressing down and in with the same pressure and speed, and making sure that, and you can see it's still kind of wobbly, so I haven't quite gotten it centered here, so I'm going to go ahead and push down one more time and in, see if I can get it better centered before I get started. So I'm going to just really press in here and bring my clay up. So I'm like pushing from both sides with my hands, kind of pushing with my fingers from this side and my palm from this side, and bringing the clay from the base up into a cone. And this is just going to help with getting any air bubbles out and any impurities in my clay out, so that when I'm going to throw it, I'm not fighting with that. Okay, and then so when I go to push this down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of push it off center with this hand, but I'm going to hold it with this hand and press down. Got a little clay on my wheel head here that just kind of is rubbing my hand and maybe causing some problems with getting my clay centered. So I'm going to scrape that off. And I'm going to take my clay in here and press it in a little bit more, and then just press down and just hold it really steady. And I can really do this as many times as I need. I could cone it again if I wanted. I don't feel like I really need to with this piece of clay, but I am going to keep working on centering a little bit more. Okay, that's feeling pretty good. So here's the big difference with bowls. When I go to, before I go to open it, I'm going to be bringing this under a little here, cutting that under, and rounding this off a little bit. That's going to give me just a really good shape for my bowl here. I'm already starting with that angle for a bowl. And if you need to, you can even take a sponge and press it in from the side a little bit to make that more pronounced. All right, and then the next thing that's going to be really pretty different about a bowl is how you open it. So instead of just going straight in with my thumb, I'm going to be going in at a little bit more of an angle here. Now I could do that in a number of ways. I could use both thumbs and press in at an angle here. I could use a couple fingers and press in here. I could use one thumb and just support it with my hand. I think what I'm going to do today is use both thumbs. And I'm just going to start pressing in here and opening that up. That seems pretty centered, so that made my opening a lot easier. Sometimes you can really tell when you start to open a piece of clay whether you actually have it centered. And if you have a little bobble in there, no big deal. I feel like I might have just a little bobble in there. It's never going to be 100% perfect. So don't worry about it. None of us are perfect. So, all right, what I'm going to do next is called a claw pull. So I'm going to have a finger on the inside, my thumb on the inside, and my fingers on the outside. I can grab it this way with my right hand. If you're left-handed or you just like using your left hand, you can grab it with your left hand and just put your fingers on the inside and your thumb on the outside. So you're working with your clay. I like to use my right hand, even though I'm left-handed. And I'm going to pinch it and bring the clay up the side. So let me show you that without the clay. So basically I'm coming in here, pinching it, and bringing it up. You can do that a couple times. It does bring up quite a bit of clay at a time. So I'm going to pinch in here, right from the base, and bring it up the side. Nice. That worked really well. And then I'm going to just level off the top here So what I'm doing here is I'm pinching it from this side and then just leveling it off with my fingers. It's just really good to have a nice sturdy lip. Okay, and once again with a bowl, you're going to be bringing the clay at a little bit more of an angle, a diagonal, as you bring it up, versus a cylinder that you're coming straight up. Finger down here on the side, and maybe several fingers to support, and several fingers on the inside. And I'm going to pinch from both sides here, one going out, one going in, and bring it up the side. You can see I have a little bobble in there, but I'm not going to stress about it too much. It really shouldn't affect how the overall bowl turns out, especially when you stop it. My professor in college always just said, you always have a little dance in your pot, and I really like the way she said that. And so I'm going to get my clay wet again, and I'm starting right from the base again to bring a little more clay up. You always want to start from the bottom and work up. And just pinch in and bring it up the side. Now I'm starting to get some height to my bowl. I'm starting to thin out the walls, so they're not going to be super thick, but I'm going to keep smoothing out the top here. It's really important to keep doing that. Stabilizes it. All right. I think I'm about done with my poles. I think I'm going to do one more, and then I'll think about how I want to shape my bowl, because right now, like, this is pretty much just kind of a cone shape, and I want it to be more of a bowl shape. So I'm once again going to start right from the base here, bringing my clay out and in, and then steady as she goes all the way up the side until I get to the top. Okay, so like I said, I'm not done with the shape yet, but I'm done with getting the clay pulled up to get the height for my bowl. So right now I'm going to slow my wheel speed down quite a lot so I can get the shape without my clay collapsing on me. And it just likes to stretch a little bit better when it's going a little slower. So this is when I really like to use like one of these rib tools with the angle on it. And I know I've talked about this before, but just to have that curve in there. So when I put it in, I can really shape the bowl. So it's important definitely to get your rib wet so it's not sticking to your clay. And I'm going to press that right into the base of my bowl. And I'm going to start working it up against the edge and pressing it out and up. And I always have a hand on the outside supporting. So there we go. Now it's starting to look more like a bowl, really getting that rounded shape. I would be happy to eat some ice cream out of this, or some mac and cheese, or I don't know, just so many options. You know, so I could keep going and with my rib tool and shaping it that way. Or if you're feeling a little unsure about using the rib tool, you can grab a sponge and use that as a little bit more of a soft touch. All right, and then just pressing with my sponge from the outside, or inside to the out, and just holding on the outside. I'm gonna just keep rounding out my bowl. All right, and just keep doing that until you get the shape that you want. And I think this is another big difference between bowls and cylinders, is that you really want to make that like rounded shape, so that you have that really beautiful space within on a bowl. Next thing I want to do is just shape the lip of my pot and just make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to hold my sponge on the outside this time. And with my inside hand, I'm going to just start bringing the top of my bowl out a little bit, flaring it out a little, just to make that more interesting. Also, like, you know, if I'm eating some soup out of here and I want to pick it up and drink out of it, I want to think about that, and aesthetically how it looks on the outside there, just that form. And then last but not least, I really love the way throwing ridges look in my pot. And essentially it's just the way that the lines come up my pot. So I'm going to make that pretty pronounced. So I'm going to start from the middle and do a pretty quick pull to make those lines really stand out. So I'm starting from the center here and making a little spiral coming out and a spiral going all the way up my bowl and out. Okay, and I'm going to leave a little bit of this extra support at the base of my bowl too. You know, that I can trim off later when I'm trimming. And then I'm going to stop my wheel, get a little water on my wheel, and then I'm ready to cut this guy off. So, okay, and I'm going to just start with pulling a little bit of that water under my bowl and just pulling all the way through, just really trying to keep it taut. And if I've done it right, I should have quite a bit of clay at the base of my bowl so I can do some trimming. And it looks like I did pretty well with it. All right, and then I'm gonna just dry off my hands a little and see if that's gonna slide off now. All right, sweet, that's gonna slide off beautifully. And then I can pick it up onto my hand. And then I can show you a little bit of what it looks like on the inside. Okay, so that is the end of my bowl throwing demo. And so the main thing I want you to think about is the differences between throwing a bowl and throwing a cylinder. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.